otherwise known as Haggerty Subdivision Sidewalk Program. And we also have a landscaping contract to take a look at. That will be it for that. We're going on to adopt the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Support.
Got it. Miller, please. All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next is adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Morton. Make a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda as item 1, work study minutes of May 3rd, 2022. Item 2, board meeting minutes of May 3rd, 2022. Number 3, prepaid list of May 5, 2022. 4, prepaid list of May 12, 2022. 5, voucher list of May 17, 2022. 6, approval of adding a human resource line item to the supervisor's budget. Item 7, approval of the reappointment of Walter Hoyt and Eileen to the Water and Sewer Commission with terms to expire June 1st, 2024.
Ms. Bud. All right, I have support. I have a motion by Trustee Morton. It has got support from Treasurer Bud. No discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving now on to public hearing. We have none. Correspondence, announcements, and presentations. Trustee Miller, you have an announcement, and I have a few.
So, paper BAM survey. Prior to the museum visioning workshop for the Belleville Area Museum this June, we created an online survey for community members to help us create the best possible experience at the museum. Community input is invaluable as Danbury Township, the City of Belleville, and Sumter Township endeavor to create new possibilities for the museum. So take the survey, scan the QR code, and give us your opinion. Thank you.
Sure. Great. Right.
I just want to make a notion again that letters went out today regarding the voter registrations and maps we got in regards to new voting locations. Some people may have a new voting location coming up in August, some may not, but everyone will receive a new voter ID card in the mail here shortly, hopefully tomorrow or the next day. Rosemary, if you can make note of that in your lovely paper, I appreciate it. But they did, letters went out today, so look for them coming in your mail.
So there's new precinct.
We changed precinct 8. Hagley School is going to be, precinct 8 is going to be Edgemont now.
Okay.
So that's the move change that everyone needs to know. Some precincts are going to be moved based on the overage that we had. We had to redesign along with the redistricting that state did. Give us opportunity to we redistrict some of our voters. So some people that voted at Tyler last year may not vote at Tyler this year. If you voted here, you may vote somewhere else. But the voter registration card will indicate where you're going to be voting at.
Meals on Wheels, I'm still looking for some volunteers. You can work like it's Monday through Friday, but you can work 1 day, 2 days, whatever days you want. It's 9 to 1. They pay mileage. I'm not sure if they pay anything else. Do they? No, it's volunteer, but they do pay mileage. And so if you're interested, just call our senior department. They'll hook you up, and we'd love to get nothing better than putting a smile on a senior's face with a hot lunch. Also, I'm happy to excited to announce, as I noticed a little thing in our weekly update Dan does, it he doesn't think anybody reads, but
I'll read it.
there you go. I'm glad. But the splash pad is going to be open on May 28th. Splash pad opens May 28th. That's great news.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yep. And also in that little weekend update is all the park bathrooms are open. Yippee! So that's big news. I have no other announcements. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna move on then. Next item is public comment. Do you know the rule? No.
Well, I know the rules, that's one of the plans right off the bat. I wanted to talk about an item on the consent agenda that you just threw in there. And so we don't get a chance at the public, we already voted on it. So that's gonna be an extra to me with the rules. Was number 6, the human resource line item in the supervisor's budget, was that the $70,000 added to HR?
Yes, it
that we
was.
talked about? Okay, so it would have been really good to explain that, because $70,000 isn't a drop in the bucket to anybody.
Most of us.
Now with that, whoa, because you're gonna shut me down and I'm gonna take 5 or 8 minutes here. The 70,000, the way I heard it during the work study was, it was for COVID testing. Why in the world is the township spending $70,000 on COVID testing when Romulus, Sumter, Camp, Ypsilanti Township, New Boston, Huron Township, and the city of Wayne doesn't do any testing at all? 2 of the cities never did the testing, and the rest are going by CDC guidelines. There are no CDC guidelines that says that the township needs to waste $70,000 to stick a cotton swab to the back of your head. So that's frivolous money. Is somebody getting a kickback here with the cotton swabs? And I'm gonna be facetious here, and I'm gonna be maybe nasty, but I'll still be under guidelines here, because I know how the township works.
I'm not
I know
supposed
the
to
rules.
respond, but it's not 70,000. How much is in a month?
We did it quarterly. They bill us quarterly and it's 5,000 quarterly.
What was the, I asked you.
On
you
site.
Identified 70 grand, so that. I need to
70
be
grand in the
correct.
line item, but yeah, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
how much of that is COVID? Because then I can dial it down a little bit.
5 grand a quarter.
Okay, so 20 grand then.
Yes,
On cotton swabs going in the nose that nobody does, and nor does the CDC require right now, with gloves or masks or anything else. It's your choose and preference if you want to dial up with all that stuff, right?
No, it's required
No,
of
it's not.
anybody that's not had a booster shot by Van Buren, by the board's designee. The board has required it.
it's
So
for the
board is
unvaccinated.
over superseding the CDC and the Health Department of the state and the Wayne County Health Department. You guys, you're gonna be doctors there to spend money and supersede everybody else that's got a medical degree involved with this stuff. This is just your preference as this board to spend extra money. And the reason why I'm gonna be tying this down, because I'm putting my ombudsman hat back on that I was given back in 2009 or 10, right, Jeff Jar, seen. Because I'm gonna start watching finance.
It's not a requirement for everyone to get tested.
It's the money that I'm talking about. If you're putting it aside, you're gonna spend it. It never comes back. When you
We
get government
got,
money.
we got funding for COVID also.
Okay, and that's the 20,000.
Yeah, we got a lot of money for COVID.
Okay, and what are you gonna do with it when this goes around, goes away, it turns back to the flu? Because once you line item it, it doesn't get to go back somewhere else, like
Yeah, we just get
senior
flu shots.
center. Huh?
We just get flu shots then.
You
Like
said
people
you're
don't
like,
just get flu shots.
I see how you can manipulate the money. I want to bring it to your attention. People are gonna watch that now, because I'm gonna be on top of it. We don't need to waste the money. Times are gonna get dire in another 9 months. Can't get baby formula, $7 gas in some places out of the state. So we need to be frivolous, or excuse me, not frivolous with our money.
We are being,
You are being-
we're taking care of the money, John, but
Yeah, I know.
we did get COVID funding for
Well-
all the testing and stuff. But everyone don't have to be tested. You still gonna have your time. But I'm just trying to explain to you. So I don't know whether you saw the news, but Wayne County is a hot spot again.
Well, yeah, election's coming up. Of course it's gonna be a hot spot.
No, I'm talking about COVID
60
hotspot.
days, COVID hot spot will come up right before the midterm.
COVID hotspot, John. You gotta do with the last
Yeah,
elections.
okay. It's gonna be a hot spot in 6 different swing state cities right before the election. So we'll move on.
Who you listening to?
Not the stuff you listen to.
I know who you listening to.
Okay, now moving on to the comments that I want to make on the new business and unfinished business is, I know what you're fixing to do. You're gonna slam through this 4-day, 10-hour work week, and you really didn't do your due diligence. So whoever was involved in it, and I'll break it down into 5 easy things. Yes, I contacted somebody today and found out there's 50 or less employees that work in this part of the building, 50. Because you got a total of a little over 100 that counts public safety. With those 50, according to the survey, 70% of that survey, only 70, not 100%, 70% of that survey wanted those 4 days, 10 hours. So that's not 100%, so that's less than 50. There's 30,000 residents in this restaurant, so if you do, or excuse me, in this city, the township, you do the math. The relationship that we're having here is that you've got 37 people that are calling the shots for 30,000 people. You got 37 employees that wants to tell and dictate how the township runs its hours for 30,000 people that they work for. That's not good numbers. That's not good numbers of having a very, very short minority taking over a very, very large majority. And then it was shameful to hear during the board meeting that one of the trustees said, you know what? The township residents will get over it. It's something new, but after a little bit of time, well, we're not guinea pigs as the residents here. So we don't have to get over it. It's not like COVID where we were forced to, like Australia, to lock down. So for a trustee sitting in this corporate body right now to say, well, it sounds like it's something new, but I'm sure the residents will get over it. Well, let me ask you one thing, and you can interrupt my time. When are you going to push this forward? When's this going to start after you approve it today? Right before Memorial Day, isn't it? It's still, you're going to end it and start in May. So that means Memorial Day weekend, we're only going to be open 4 days. 3 days, I'm sorry. And see, that wasn't looked into with all these holidays. You got 13 weeks of holidays that you're going to have Mondays off. So if you have a Monday off and a Friday off, you've got 13 weeks of only 3 days open. So but I've got 3 items here. So technically it would be 3 minutes per item. Okay, so it's terrible.
Over the 3 minutes, I'm being generous.
But that was for one thing. I'm only talking about one item.
You don't get 3 minutes. You don't get 3 minutes for an item, you know that.
Oh, no, you do. If it was one item on here.
So you get
90-day trial period.
it for
90-day
anything that's
trial
on the
period.
agenda.
90-day trial period. Who's running this thing? Leon, you were the supervisor. Let me finish this up. 90-day trial period that you're going to impose. You're conveniently doing it when we're going on vacation. Why didn't we do it February, March, and April, or why don't we do it in December, January, and February in the wintertime? Because 90% of people like to go out of town, so yeah, it would be Deadsville in here, not only on Friday, but on Thursday and on Wednesday, when everybody's out of school, they're in Traverse City, or they're out of state, or going to the Grand Canyon. Of course, it's gonna be a weaker way to look at the time frame off for this next 90 days than it would be in the wintertime when everybody is in town and ready to do things. So that wasn't looked into.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me see.
We're-
I'll get you on the non-agenda, but then you're just gonna let me finish.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're all set, though, okay? Thank you.
Terrible study.
All right, we're moving on to unfinished business. The first item is the discussion and consider approval of instituting a pilot program to modify the municipal hours of operation and to implement a compressed work schedule for a period of 3 months. And one thing that's not on that original thing, it's not on there, but it is pertinent to this. It is that 3 months, and it's in the action, and to authorize the full-time elected officials to negotiate a budget neutral LOU for this pilot program. Okay, so it is in the action item, but it isn't in the reading. So can I get a motion on that?
Supervisor, why don't you make the motion?
I will make the motion.
Read that.
Okay, all right. I would like to, I'd like to make a motion to consider for approval of instituting a pilot program to modify the municipal hours of operation and implement a compressed work schedule for a period of 3 months, beginning the week of May 30th to September 2nd, and authorize the full-time elected officials to negotiate a budget neutral letter of understanding for this pilot program. The proposed compressed work schedule for municipal administrative employees is Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Should the full-time elected officials not be able to negotiate a budget neutral letter of understanding, this will not take place. Can I get a second?
I like to support it, but I need to understand what a budget neutral.
Means it's not gonna cost more.
It means this is not supposed to cost more.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to take anything away from anyone and doesn't add anything.
And what were those hours again?
7 to 5.
I think it needs to also say that the DPS gentlemen in the back, our hours are 6:30 to 4:30.
I would welcome that friendly change.
That's an LOU.
Okay.
Well, so is the other, so I think it ought to be mentioned in the motion.
So is it a moot point?
It's not because both points are in the LOA.
Okay, so I would welcome that as a friendly amendment. Ms. Frazier, would you allow?
Yeah.
Thank you, trustee. Okay, we've amended it. All right, director, could you take over?
Thank you, board. Thank you for reading the action, so I don't have to. Just based off of what Mr. Delaney was saying, that he knew about the survey numbers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you said 50 or less employees responded.
So your supervisor told me that.
No, there are 50. He asked me how many were in this part of the building. I figured there were about 50. That's probably accurate.
Okay, so the question in the survey read, what is the level of interest in BBT offering an option or compressed working schedule?
How many employees were, do
Total
we
people
have?
that surveyed on this was 57.
Close.
71.93% were highly interested, that's 41 people. Somewhat interested, 10.53%, 6 people. Neutral, 10.53%, 6 people. Not interested, 7.2%, 4 people. That's 57 people that
Close.
participated in this survey. Okay?
How many employees total?
Well, on the administrative side is really who is affecting. So we have about 60 people on the administrative side, I would say about 62 to 64, if you add in the part-time people. But to that end, I also want to add that not many people know, as far as us doing this pilot program, we're not the only municipality nor the only organization that is doing this. As of April 1, and this is just news, CNBC, anybody can Google it just like I did before. I did mention it at the work study. Thousands of employees enjoyed their first Friday off because of a pilot program that thousands of organizations, including nonprofit and political organizations, put out a 4-day work week. Unfortunately, it's not the same as we're doing because they're actually decreasing hours. We're keeping our hours the same. Their pilot program is gonna run from April 1 to the end of September. Whereas ours is gonna run technically the week of Memorial Day, but ours won't start until that Friday, which is June 1st or the 2nd. And it will end on September 2nd, if it doesn't work properly.
So after Memorial Day.
Correct. The other thing I wanna mention is, we did talk about this in the work study too.
And okay,
We will be monitoring with both employees as well as the citizens how this is going. Supervisor McNamara, Clerk Wright, Treasurer Bud, we all talked about this. They're not trying to shove anything down the citizens' throat. We are trying to give it an honest try. But as far as, and we talked about this last work study too, recruiting purposes, we don't want to be the last ones doing this. We're already second, third, fourth, fifth, whoever. But if other municipalities are doing this, then we're losing that employee that we could have here.
possibly, right?
Yes. And it's not all, I mean, I'm not saying it always gonna happen like that, but adding this as a benefit is a good thing. I talk to them, we've been going through this really every day since it even came out. I get, some people don't think it's a good idea, some people do. Is it a generation thing? I don't know. But we all gotta work together to figure it out, at least try it. All I'm hearing is a bunch of negativity. We at least need to try something new sometimes. It's not gonna always be bad, and I can guarantee it's gonna always be good. But at least we can try.
So let me ask this question, if I may, Supervisor.
Yeah,
So our staff will have off Friday period.
Friday,
They
yes.
will not be working. So they'll be
No.
putting in 10 hours.
10 hours a day, it'll still equate to 40 hours. But one thing that a lot of people aren't looking at too is you're trying to say that we're shortening a work week. We're actually not. Right now, we come in at 7:30, we leave at 4. We go to this pilot program, we're opening up at 7. That's giving the township residents at least 30 more minutes to come in earlier before they went to work, and an hour and a half when they get off, because we're here until 5 o'clock. Technically, we were closed at 4. So I mean, it's not necessarily shortening the work week. We're actually adding more hours during those 4 days for the employees that they didn't have during those 5 days. And I don't think anybody's looking at that either. This isn't a bad thing. I'm not for everything that we put out, but I at least will try it. Wasn't my idea, no. But do I support it? Yes, just like I have to take on anything the board tells me to do. My job is for the employees to work it out. You task me with that job. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Dan, did you have anything you want to say?
No, I think Director Sumter spelled out a lot of different things. It was partly the thing to look at and do due diligence. We did surveys, as you would do, to see if there was support from our administrative staff. And you had 70% from all administrative staff saying there was support, 75% from salaried staff. But it wouldn't have got off the ground if there wasn't looking at a service level conditional thing too, and see how public would benefit. And that's what we're gonna do, and that's why it's a pilot, and that's why, you know, it's minimum level of commitment by going 3 months and to see how it works out and see what challenges are out there. And if it's something that you guys want to institute full permanently.
Supervisor, I have a quick question. How many residents have we heard from that are not in favor of this? And what were their reasons?
One.
Other than, and we've heard from Mr. Delaney, but I'd like to hear from those or.
I can tell you that I had had one phone call who was against it until, but he thought he was against it because he thought it was going to close the senior center down. And then when I told him, no, the senior center is going to maintain its operation, he wasn't against it at all. He thought, oh, that's good. Maybe the employees will be nice, be happy again. I don't know.
We've got 2 on the phone right now. So
Yeah.
that's 3
Okay.
so far.
There you go. All right.
Is there
Did you?
anyone else from the audience? I saw a hand in the back.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of it.
See, we weren't polled, only you guys were, residents.
So, you know, this has come to us for 4 straight years. For 4 years, we've had this, and for 4 years, we've pretty much said no. But when COVID kind of hit, we kind of discovered that we can handle this, I think. Now, the biggest reason I want to do this as a 3-month trial is, number one, I have a feeling that the unions are going to have questions, and I have to make sure that this is going to be fair for all concerned. I really want them to be happy, but I got to represent the residents too. So one reason is it gives us 3 months to see if we can really work something out that's cost neutral and good for the citizens and good for the union. The other reason is, quite frankly, I don't know what the citizens are going to think about this for sure. And I'd like 3 months to find out what's going to happen going forward. Kind of a running game. I wouldn't be doing this so if I didn't think it would work. I think it's going to work. It's not real positive. Trustee Martin?
I'm not, excuse me, I'm not opposed to the 4-day work week. What I am kind of leery about is the township hall being closed that 1 day a week. If we could work a plan where some will work Monday through Thursday and another group will work Thursday through Friday, then the township hall will be open for services if they need building permits or whatever. Some people, their only day off is Friday. They work different shifts. They work these kind of shifts also, and that limits their days off. So I'm just kind of leery about the township being closed for that 1 day.
I'd like to make you happy, but I can't. If you have
Doesn't matter making them happy. I'm just telling you what my concerns are.
Okay, so we looked at that, and the problem we have is that that our employees work as teams, and we can't cut the teams in half, especially if you have a group working from Monday through Thursday and Tuesday to Friday, because Monday and Tuesday are our heavy days. So we need the full team on full team in the building at that time. So just so you understand fully why I probably can't do that. You probably could do something, but I don't know what.
But you're gonna short the team. You won't have all the people that you
Vacations are
need.
gonna short the, vacations.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Supervisor, if I could just address that, just briefly, the other challenge is that if we had a big enough staff, you might be able to, it's a very valid, point to be made by trustee Martin, but one of the challenges with that was with lunches, with vacations. Once you started splitting up at team A or team B, that might work one Monday and the other team works Friday, and even if you alternate, with limited work staff to backfill lunches and vacations and things like that would be a very big challenge to make sure that we had staffing in all the different department areas.
Yeah, and to the point about the permits, I talked to Treasurer Bud about this too. It seems like everybody is really hyper-focused on the building department and the permits. We've proven we can get permits out. If somebody's trying to build a house on a Friday, you're not getting a permit anyway. You have to go through a site review plan. I've talked to the building director. He's told me how the process goes. No one would go without a building permit. If you have to come in and pay taxes, same thing we did with the COVID, pay it online, you have the box. But it just seems like everybody, every time we talk about it, is the building department and the permits. Our permits are really on autopilot at this point because everything can be done. It's not, no one will be lacking on a permit if they need it.
So,
And go ahead.
so let me get this straight.
Okay.
And I know this came up last time. How will it be that a resident gets a permit if we're not open? Can they receive a permit, what I'm trying to say, can they receive a permit online?
They can, and I'll let Director Power talk about that a little bit more, because we did discuss this, we kind of figured this would come up tonight.
Sure, thank you, board. Thank you, Trustee Miller. So, as Director Sumter said, most types of permits will require more extensive review than a one-day turnaround would allow. So everything from an addition to a home, a new home, a swimming pool, an accessory building, those are all things that we'd have to spend some time reviewing as staff, and you wouldn't typically come in on a Friday morning and get the permit that day anyway. There would be at least 1 to 2 business day turnaround. If not, there's up to 10 by state law before the first comments come out. But in the case of the kinds of permits you expect there to be work on a Friday, on a one-day turnaround, roofing permits are one of the most common examples. You do have online permitting set up such that somebody could apply, submit payment, have the permit be in ready to issue status, and then submit pictures for their open board work, and really have everything ready to go so that you could go back into our system, release the permit for final inspection on the Monday we come back. So that's one of the only examples that I can think of that you get contractors regularly expecting a permit the same day. Most permits do not get issued the same day.
What permits where we would see that exception, where they do come in for one day? Is
Electrician.
there,
Roofing, hot water heater replacement, common accessory items around the home, like a furnace or an air conditioning unit. And those, by the same example, that they could pay for the permit, have everything basically ready in our system for us to go and accept payment whenever the Treasury Department's ready to accept the payment, and just schedule the final inspection whenever they're ready to schedule the final inspection. So a lot of minor electrical work, furnaces, hot water heaters, air conditioning units. Those are all things that simply require a final inspection, and we could have the permit processed remotely on the day that the office is closed for final inspection when we're back open.
do you see, as the director of that huge department, this being an issue?
It's something that we.
4-day work week. Do you think it's something we could work through?
I do, and it's really up to the board, and we can work with whatever option the board decides is best. But we did do this during the shutdown during COVID, and we were able to do everything we do in person remotely.
Jeff,
Corporate.
Trustee, you asking good questions. I think we getting away from, I think this is why we're making it a pilot program. And I think another issue, the reason why we're addressing this is not only just because of the fact that we did a survey, but it's also the fact that we can't get personnel. We have an issue, we're losing personnel monthly, weekly, and we can't fill them. People are not applying for the position. And we talked about this in the last book study, that people now want a work-life balance. Employees want a work-life balance. When I was working, when I started rearing my kids, when I had my babies, I had to make a choice. It wasn't such thing as a work-life balance. I had to decide whether I was gonna work those excessive hours or do something different. I had to make that choice to do something different because the employee wasn't providing. And there was an abundance of people there waiting to take my place. There's not an abundance of people out there waiting to take places. People are doing the opposite. They're deciding to stay home and I choose family over work now. This wasn't a board proposal, but I do support during the trial period. The biggest thing I hear now, we're open 5 days a week, and I still hear, being the first thing you see when people come in the door, we get all the questions, we get all the directions, we get all the phone calls. What we hear is that 4 o'clock is too early to close. I can't get here by 4 o'clock. We have more people pulling on the door at 4 o'clock than we have any day. We used to have people pulling on the door early in the morning, but now that we did the earlier work start, we don't have that issue. Now it's in the evening time. 4 o'clock, people pulling on the door. They try to rush in to get here. I think that 5 o'clock is going to solve a lot of issues. The trial period, we'll see whether people will get used to. I think humans are a creature of habit. Whatever is put in front of them, they get used to it. And I'm just being honest. You don't forget, we're all up here. We're all residents. We all have to get used to it. I have things that we all come to township hall for something. But if you know that it's open at a certain time, you come that time. And like the director said, it's poor planning to come to the township hall on a Friday, trying to get a permit on Friday. That's just poor planning. Poor planning don't necessarily cause an emergency on nobody's behalf. And he said it's a time frame to get, we know that, to get
Not for an electrician.
anybody got time frame, John. You don't come and get, it ain't on the spot.
It's a violation to
Permits.
do electrical work
Well,
without a permit. You didn't ask him any technical questions because none of you are up there technical. An HVAC contractor, an electrical contractor.
John,
John,
you had
this
the
is our
time,
meeting.
Well, none of these questions were asked when I was talking.
but you had the time to talk, and now I'm talking. Now you want to interrupt when I'm talking.
My crystal ball.
Yeah, we can all be professionals and talk and have everything at different times. But that's why I leave. We're doing a trial period. The trial period is going to dictate. If the resident has an issue with it, believe me, we're here. Rosemary put a nice article in the paper a couple weeks ago, last week. You said, contact your board members. I didn't get contacted. Nobody called me. I don't know about the rest of the board, but anybody call you guys?
Got one phone call, senior citizen.
So we got over 32,000 residents plus, and when you get 4 people call, and including you and Reggie sitting in the audience, that's
3 on
6.
this phone.
And 3 on the phone, that's still a small percentage.
Her
We're gonna do a trial period, and that'll tell whether it's a gold program or not.
Trustee Morton.
So what happens after the trial period on September 6th after Labor Day?
Okay,
What happens then? And
Okay.
what is the evaluation process to see if this worked or didn't work?
okay, first of all, the trial period was set up explicitly so that he cannot extend 1 day past that date without a vote of the board.
But how is it evaluated all summer?
I don't know.
How are we surveying our employees, each month, just to see how it's going, and talking to them as well. And we'll be watching the counters and seeing what people are saying, because people are vocal and they will let us know how they feel
Will let
about the
us know.
situation. Whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, whatever we have, social media, we will hear about it.
I suspect initially that most people are going to not like it until they discover that. I think we have a lot more people that come in after 4 o'clock from 4 to 5 than come in on Fridays, because Fridays are dead. Last week I sent out a memo that one person showed up.
I'm telling you, I approve. We turn away more people between 4 and 5
Yeah, we
than
do.
any other time.
And each department send an evaluation, each month that we're doing this, so we have some kind of consistency.
The board can set any parameters it wants.
To how we evaluate, I think that would be fair, not only on social media, but within the departments.
Are you saying for the employees or the citizens?
For the citizens, yes. But I'd also like to hear if this is working from the employees as well.
That's what we're gonna do the surveys every month to
That's
see.
equally important to get that feedback from our residents.
The chair.
Let's go ahead, trustee Tricia.
I think I'm probably the person from the old school that Nicole was talking of, because I am from the old school. I did have 2 phone calls. It wasn't so much that they didn't think the township should be closed to the public. And at the last meeting, I think I mentioned that. I also mentioned whether we had a swing shifts deal like we did through COVID. With as small a staff as I got, that was awfully hard to work because of, and now especially with vacations, it would not work. It would put a lot of pressure on somebody, and that was not going to work. I do think that this 10 hours is going to be a long day for the people that are here in the building. And I'm of the opinion that if my staff is here, I should be here. And I know that's going to make a long day, I think, for all of us. But they can adjust. If this is what they wanted and they're the 65% or whatever that wanted it, I suppose they will adjust. And maybe I've been one of the people that's been negative, because I think I've probably brought up most of these things when we've talked about it. There's also concern with all of the federal holidays being on a Monday, and how is that now going to work with only having 3 days?
We're working on that.
And that will have to be worked out. So there's some things that have got to be worked out. Our employees still have a half an hour lunch. We are now giving them a paid half-hour lunch so that they can meet the requirements of 10 hours a day. They still have their 2 breaks. It's still a long day. It's something I'm not particularly in favor of, but I do not want to think that I'm so old that I cannot adapt to a new policy, and I would be willing to give it the policy a pilot to see if everybody, that's what they're like.
I'm on too.
Sure. One more. So back to this, when the pilot program ends and you go back on a 5-day schedule for how long? How long is we just said people are creatures of habit, so they've got into this 3-month habit now. So what happens in the interim after
I will. In theory, and then you're probably going to fix what I say. In theory, over the 3 months, we'll discover if it's not working, in which case we go back to our 5 days. If it is working, then we have to work everything out with the unions. And then we come back to the board and we say, we think it's working. And here are the reasons why we think it's working. And we would like you to extend it.
this week before September 2nd?
It would have to be, because on September 2nd, it just ends without board approval. And we did that purposely to basically put not just pressure on us, but pressure on everybody to make sure that they treat this thing seriously going forward. We want the board to have the control of this thing working out or not working out. Working out.
Through the chair. You're not, I wouldn't say old school. And you're not the only person. Generational. But there are employees as well that are not for this, and it's just old school mentality that we all have to work through.
I was
And
with you.
yeah.
I was
So-
originally with you.
So no, it's not just you, but I do want everyone to just, at least let's work through it. Let's try it, see how it works. I talked to the union today. We're working out the LOU, working out a couple of issues. They'll be able to take it to their membership for vote. But all in all, I think we can give it a try. And that's my opinion.
Call the question. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Frazier has something.
Change is always difficult and, you know, people are used to doing it one way and they don't want to change. So I think we should at least give it a try, you know, at least attempt to see how it works. For the residents, that's the most important part of this, is that if it serves our residents' needs and we can meet their needs, then that's a direction we should go in.
Thank you.
We're rocking up.
I don't think we should put labels such as old school. It's just different perspectives. Let's leave it at that. So with that being said, you know, if you can work out the days, which I don't know how you're going to do, the days, the holidays, with it being a 3-day week. I'm not quite sure on how that will work, but I have faith in you that you will work through that. I'm open to trying this because I know the shortage of employees that we've had out there, and I know the revolving door, and I know what employees are looking for if they want that balance. So I'm willing to try it, but we need a proper way of evaluating it. And if it works, it'll be great. It'll be great for our employees, and it'll also be good for our residents as well.
All right, we have our union presidents here. I don't think they want anything do they want to speak? No, didn't think so. Okay. We have a motion, hearing no further discussion. We have a motion currently on the table by Supervisor McNamara, supported by Trustee Frazier. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to the first item of new business. New business, can I get a motion for discussion to consider approval of a personal service agreement?
Through the chair, I would be honored to approve the personal service agreement for Joshua Monte as the Deputy Police Chief of Van Buren Township and approve his personal service agreement.
Miller. Okay, Chief, could you come up and bring Mr. Monte? Hey, take it away.
Hey again, hello, good evening, board. Thank you for allowing us to present this personal service agreement for Joshua Monte. He has served with the City of Romulus Police Department for 24 years, and he is currently employed by the Michigan State Police through the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement, which is Law Enforcement Standards. He has decades of experience at all levels of police administration and will be a serious asset to the department. And with that, I'm going to let Chief Wright take over and say a few words for Joshua as well.
Good evening, board. Thank you for entertaining this. Joshua Monte has been a longtime law enforcement professional for many years. I knew him when I was in Wayne and he was in Romulus. Our paths crossed over the years, and our paths have crossed over the last 6-7 years through our FBI National Academy connections. Josh Monte has approximately 26 years of law enforcement experience. Began his career in the city of Detroit in 1996. He spent 2 years there. I believe he worked at the number 12 precinct. He was hired by Romulus Police Department in 1998, where he stayed there until 2021. He retired as a captain. He was in charge of their operations. He ran road patrol the traffic bureau, the records bureau, the dispatch. Throughout his career, Joshua has been a field training officer, a detective, a sergeant, a lieutenant. He was the supervisor of the field training program at the time in his career over in Run. He has a very, very wide berth of experience that he has under his belt. He has a master's degree from Eastern Michigan University in his concentration in Homeland Security and Emergency Management, which is a huge plus to us. He also has a Bachelor of Science from Eastern Michigan in Education. He, just like myself, has attended the FBI National Academy, one a few years after I did. He's a staff and command graduate as well. Currently, he's working at the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards. And basically, I call his title, he's the gatekeeper for the integrity of the licensing in the state of Michigan for all police officers. So when a police officer leaves a job and wants to come back to the job or go to another department, he's tasked with investigating the whys, the whats, and why somebody's moving around to make sure everything is okay. He is also he grew up in Van Buren Township, which I found out through this process. He attended Belleville High School as well. We accepted applications, and I was very, there were several subjects that I was happy to see their application that we would be able to look at. And I knew that Joshua would do extremely well because I've worked with him as a counterpart over the years. During the process, he demonstrated experience, knowledge, skill, and ability, and he has a lot of good experience at several command levels. And I'm looking very forward to working with him. And so I present to you Josh Monty.
Thank you. Josh, you have a few words to say before we?
Just that I've been a public servant for 26 years. I'm excited for this opportunity to give back to this community that gave me so much, and serve this community. I'm honored to join such a highly respected team at the Public Safety Department, and I'm really excited to work with each of you and Chief Marty for that. I think
And your duties at M. Coles were?
I'm a regulation agent, so the legislation, the most recent legislative change, the MCOS Act, requires a character fitness component for law enforcement licensure. The idea behind that is to ensure all bad officers aren't going from agency to agency to agency. So my unit takes that extra step above and beyond a background investigation to bring that officer to the commission for approval into the licensure. So
We were looking for a high character individual, and this is the person that the state of Michigan uses to determine the character of officers. So we think we've got a pretty good one, and I was really excited to find out. I did not know that you were Van Buren. I do know your mom and dad. Not always. They're having pickleball so that's kind of fun. Yeah. They're a lot of fun. Does anybody have any questions for our new deputy?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment that I'm proud of the Monty family and that they're contributing another one of theirs to the township. And they're high caliber and they want the best for Van Buren Township. So I don't think we can get any better.
To the chair. I guess that was the first question I answered when I saw his name. I said, I wonder if he's related to the Montes I know. And of course, I found out he was. I worked with his dad and his mom through the school system. Because most of you know, he was the principal. His mother was the secretary at Rossendale. And when I was on the school board, we worked closely and we kind of kept contact off and on. So it's our honor for you to now continue to serve as a Van Buren Township, and we appreciate that.
The natural fit.
Stay home.
Well, thank you. Welcome to, well, actually not yet. Okay. We have a motion by Treasurer Budd. We have support by Trustee Miller to bring Josh Monty on as a deputy police chief and approve his personal service agreement. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Welcome. come on up and shake our hands and, are we still doing that?
Grab Mike to see if maybe can you hook it up to here. I don't know if a big walkthrough even did. Well, yeah, over a big walkthrough.
Yeah, why don't you come and get a picture? This is probably something that'll be for the history.
I just brought this up there because I was about to die. Let's bring this up there. Participation link. Let's see.
He's gonna get the thing, because I need these don't fit mine, but she's ready to get it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I have one in the office that she's gonna get. I just don't know myself because it was just working.
Yeah. Did you want to try to disconnect it real quick?
I've done that like 10
I don't
times.
think they're gonna give you much of a hard time.
I don't think so, but I'll just.
Okay.
But
I feel like I'm your parents, right?
I just have this up there because my battery's about to die. I don't want to run a cord across.
I can put it this way.
Treasurer Bud has informed me that we have never had a deputy police chief. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, which is discussion on to consider approval of the lease agreement with the Van Buren Agri Schools. I do want you to go through what you just did. Excuse me. Can I get a motion for moving over? Trustee Miller.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the lease agreement with Van Buren Public Schools, Haggerty Road Elementary School for temporary senior center operations and the associated budget amendment.
Support.
Okay. Director Renaud.
Good evening, board. Having some slight technical issues, but we'll work through it. So with the anticipated construction of the community center project, it's necessary that we move our senior center in order to provide continuation of service for our community. Our senior center provides important programming. It's vital to the physical, mental, and social health of our membership. Strong social ties through friends and community groups can preserve our brain health as we age. So fortunately for us, Van Buren Public Schools has graciously offered to partner with the township and lease Haggerty Road Elementary School to use as our temporary location of the senior center. The lease is at no cost to the township, with the exception of specific facility maintenance expenses that the township would have to cover. These costs include utilities, lawn care, snow removal, janitorial, waste disposal, and general maintenance. There are also costs associated with moving, IT networking, and signage. The Public Services Department and the IT department work closely with us to make sure that we are getting accurate quotes for this. So what we would be asking for as a budgetary implication would be for a budget amendment for $85,600 for 2022. We would cover the 2023 expenses, which we're projecting at $118,200 as part of the budget process this summer. So if approved, the lease agreement would be signed and will commence starting tonight, but I guarantee you we're not doing anything tonight, but tomorrow we'll try to coordinate that. The community services team, we're going to work with public services and IT, make the necessary arrangements to move into Haggerty over the next few weeks. Head Start is currently in there. They'll be in there until Tuesday, June 21st, and we hope to start up shortly after that. There is a possibility, like Superintendent said, about a 50-50 chance that they might be moving back in for a couple months, but we've had tons of meetings with public schools and Head Start, and everyone feels like we can share that space successfully. So I provided in the packet the lease agreement, the exterior map of the site, the interior map of the leased areas, our operating budget, some draft senior center procedures, and our senior center schedule. And I'll just quickly go over some of the procedures so you can get a holistic view of how we're going to operate. So building hours, as Supervisor McNamara said earlier, proposed hours for the center would be Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4, regardless of the pilot project. We want to keep our services open to the community. Parking, we have multiple parking lots. We will make sure the staff utilizes the spaces furthest out. Members will be parking closer by. Meals on Wheels vehicles will be using the south parking lot. Traffic will enter through the north driveway and exit the south driveway. All outside doors will be locked. There's a buzzer system that we'll continue to use. Visitors and members will have to buzz into the building and check in with staff upon entry. Keycard access will be granted for staff and for janitorial contractors. In terms of internal operations, staff member or volunteer will be stationed right inside the building to greet and give direction to members and visitors. The main staff office will be located right down the hallway. It'll be easily accessible to members for memberships, punch cards, administrative needs. Programs and classes will be held in designated rooms. The greeters will inform and direct. There'll be an informal orientation for everyone. That way we can notify them of the new procedures being in the new space. Program and class flyers will be available along with the newsletters for detailed program info. Lots of signage we'll make sure we put up. We'll also put notifications on social media and the newspaper and the newsletter. Exterior signage on Haggerty Road, exterior signage on the building, lots of interior signage. We want to make sure we're respecting the limits of our lease. So we'll manage that. We also will have staff members and volunteers sprinkled throughout, stationed in several locations to oversee and assist with any needs. As noted earlier, Meals on Wheels and a few other of our food programs will be operating out of Haggerty. There's a fully equipped commercial kitchen, Focus Hope, Meals on Wheels, all of those will be going on. In terms of COVID policy, Senior Center will follow the instituted Van Buren Township COVID policy. If there is if Head Start moves back in and they have more stringent policy, we'll make sure that we coordinate with them so everyone feels safe and like good neighbors. In terms of facility maintenance, janitorial service will be contracted out and managed by Building and Grounds. The estimate that we provided in the budget is based on 5 days a week, 4 hours during the day, and some hours at night. Janitorial services will be bid out for final numbers and make sure we get competitive bids. Lawn, snow, and landscaping service will also be contracted out to by and managed by Building and Grounds under the current service providers for the township. And then there will be a continuation of current waste management service that Van Buren Public Schools already holds. Dumpsters serviced 1 to 2 times weekly. So we'll just continue that. And then we will coordinate with the public schools before any repairs are initiated at the building. I'd just like to thank Public Services, Hugo and Larry, for all their work that they've done on this, in the IT department, and Tammy and all of my staff. A lot went into this, and as Supervisor mentioned, we were annoyingly thorough, but I think for good reason. So thank you. Any questions?
We had a workshop earlier today for the public. Superintendent Pete Kulak from the Van Buren Public School System was here. They're all for this. They helped us a lot along on this. We have many questions as a board. I don't know, do you have any other questions?
You've done an excellent job of covering all the bases.
Team effort.
Appreciate the good work.
All right. Since we have no further questions, we have a motion by Trustee Miller, support, Trustee Frazier. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're moving on now. Discussion to consider approval of a resolution for Van Buren Estates, otherwise known as Haggerty Subdivision, for a sidewalk program. Trustee Bud, Treasurer Bud.
I would make a motion to approve resolution 2022-08, Van Buren Estates, otherwise known as Haggerty Subdivision, for the sidewalk rehab program.
Well, good evening, board. We're here tonight for the consideration of proceeding forward with the Haggerty Subdivision Pilot Sidewalk Program. As you know from our earlier work study process, we did a lot of work. Here with us tonight, we have our engineering team, Eric and David from the Fishback Engineering Group, and they'll be able to answer any technical questions you may have. If you approve this program, it will require estimated township expense of $625,152, including $26,000 of funds that the township will supplement without repercussion, which will be used to fund the sidewalk repairs and replacement. That will cover the approaches in that subdivision. The subdivision, of course, is located south of Tyler Road, west of Haggerty. The program involves repairing, replacing of sidewalks, which are very, very bad trip hazards. The residents will have the opportunity to make their own repairs. There will be a 30-day period where the residents can notify the township and say, hey, Van Buren, we intend to do our own sidewalks, at which time we'll issue them a permit at no cost to the residents. We'll then remove them from the inventory. They'll have 90 days to make those repairs, okay? After 90 days, we'll come in, we'll inspect. If they haven't done the repairs, the township will come in, make the necessary repairs, and bill that resident, which they'll be able to reimburse the township at the treasurer's office. They can pay it all at once, or we'll bill them over 3 years on their taxes. I think this is a great program. I think it's well needed. And if you approve this program tonight, the first notice will go out to the residents this week with an estimate cost. That's because until we get the actual bid back, that'll come before you after we select the bidder, and then you'll have to approve that. And then at that phase, they'll get a final cost. Work begin, and that subdivision will have safe sidewalks that they haven't had in probably at least 30 years. I'm gonna say the sidewalks have been bad. So, with that said, we'll take any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Trustee Martin?
I have a question, and we had talked about this. If a resident decided to do their own sidewalk, will they be able to benefit from the group pricing from the sidewalks and still and be able to pay for that upon completion of the work? Or will they have be subject to maybe having to pay a higher price because it's just a singular project?
Okay, so if anybody wants to do their own sidewalk, they will be out of the group pricing and they'll be out of the group treasure deal.
How is that?
Because they're electing to do it on their own. But if they want to do it with the group, then we can do it, we can, in theory, use that lower cost.
So why can I say, okay, I want to be with the group, but once they do the work, I don't take the 3 years to pay, I just pay it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you there. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, they can pay it off right away.
But they can participate in the group, right?
Correct, absolutely, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I misunderstood you. Yeah.
And also, I made a comment at work study, and I'll make it again for the public, that the cost is $600,000 that we're putting out is not a gift, we're not paying for that out of our pockets. That money will be recouped from the residents when they pay back for the services that's being rendered.
Yeah,
That is a low interest loan that we paid over the course of 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, very clearly to the residents that, we're lending the money out. The board feels that it is a good, safe investment because it's under taxes. So the residents of Van Buren like the idea of lending to our own homeowners to better their lives. And we get our interest rates, which we don't get much interest because we pretty much safe.
Can you recap what we were actually paying for, because they weren't at the work study?
Okay. So here's,
Responsibility.
if you're in Harry South, you've got what, you've got Greenland spots.
Okay, I'll recap.
Okay.
So, the Fishback, our engineering team went out over the last month or so, and they assessed every sidewalk in that subdivision. Along with myself, I walked quite a few of them too, but, so they marked up every sidewalk that was in need of repair. So they indicated that with a green dot of the sidewalks that will be the residents' responsibility, and a red dot will be the township's responsibility. Most of the township's responsibilities are at the corners of each street, if you will, and manhole covers, sewage drains, any of those, we're doing that cost. Out of that, we ended up with 47,000 square feet of sidewalk that needs to be replaced in that subdivision. We're estimating that cost at about $12 a square foot, not knowing what the bid is gonna come in at. That could sway either way. But I think it's a great deal, and I, applaud the township for lending the money up front to take on this project. I think the kids have been deprived in that neighborhood of being able to ride their bikes on the sidewalk for a long time. We tell our kids not to go on the street, but they have no choice. So
I see baby carriages being pushed to the street.
yes, it's yes.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I have a motion, and again, we worked on this earlier, third time. Okay, I have a motion by Treasurer Bud, supported by Trustee Miller. And hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next item is discussion and to consider approval of the selection of R&A facilities management for landscaping maintenance. Trustee Martin.
I make a motion to approve selection of R&A facilities management for 2022 through 2024 landscaping maintenance services.
Support.
All right, Director Luckett.
All righty, well, welcome again. So this is for the board to consider the selection of R&A facility management for the landscaping maintenance and services. The cost of these services will be $95,260 over a 3-year period. And this will be paid from the capital outlay line item. I think this is well needed in the township. As you all know, we have several trees, landscaping, bushes that need pruning, flowers that need attending. This is outside of the lawn mowing contract. So this will be specific to lawn edging, pruning, pulling weeds out of the flower beds, trimming hedges, and so forth. Here I have my superintendent who will be overseeing this.
Come on forward. We go off and get to see you.
Afternoon.
Do you want to add?
No, I think you said everything.
Sometimes we call it hurricane.
Yeah, he gets it done. Yeah, that's for sure.
Right?
Is this just a town, is this all the township facilities?
Yes. Parks,
Any other questions?
mulch.
All right, hearing I'm sorry, trustee Martin?
What was the cost of this?
94,000 over 3 years, so 30,000 each a year.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
I agree. I think it's well needed.
Yeah.
By the time we start taking care of our facilities and areas. Keep them up a little bit. Residents have been pointing for a long time.
Yeah, we would cut grass, but we need to go the extra mile.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Martin. I have support for trustee Miller. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have no reports. We're now on to public comments for non-agenda items. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? Thank you very much. I do have a 3 and 2, so we'll talk 5.
Well, I'll just keep rambling on. I'll keep rambling on until you bring the hook, because I got a correspondence at the end that I did not want to interrupt earlier. So I also have a correspondence to read. But under the non-agenda portion is 3 items. First of all, I want to caveat what you voted on for the 4-day work week. I never heard anybody talk about looking for staffing solutions or Kelly services or anything else. They can get you people in here. So I don't want to hear that you're understaffed and you don't know what to do with it, because I'm just a citizen and brought that up. You can get people in here. I wanted to bring it to the board's attention that this happened today at about 8 o'clock this morning. I was traveling northbound on Hannon Road. And I don't know if you got to get a hold of Al Hadius or how we get a couple duck crossing signs, because since we're trashing the waterfowl area by putting a landfill out there and taking away from the golf course, I watched a female mallard get crushed and 3 ducklings today, because those dump trucks are flying down there and those mallards are in the season of hatching their eggs, and they're trying to cross from one side of the water that we have listed as a, what do they call that? When you got the wetlands, we're going from one wetland to the other over to the trailer park at Rudgate or whatever they're calling it now, and they're crossing. And you know what? I'm not an animal rights person, but I thought it was terrible to watch those trucks drive over those things instead of stopping, because they're just worried about getting dirt out of that landfill so they can do their job. They don't care about the wildlife. I care about the wildlife. So if we can get a couple duck crossing signs so people will slow down, or the dump trucks will slow down, or do something, because it's a state law that you're not allowed to run over our waterfowl in the state of Michigan. I don't know if you know that or not. And so if it's posted, then they can be ticketed for it, because I know I got a ticket in Westland a long time ago when I was young, because there was a duck crossing sign and I blew through it. I didn't kill any ducks, but there was a Westland cop behind me and got on me for it. So that's why I know that. So to contribute to that, something needs to be looked into, because since the waterfowl don't have the golf course anymore, it's a trash dump. They need to go somewhere, and usually those mallards come back to the same place over and over and over. So they're getting squished. And I also got a call last week by a past resident that moved into Canton. So now moving forward, we had.
It's actually.
But it's curb to curb.
It's a lot of nuances you probably don't recognize.
But it's curb to curb because, right, Romulus too, but I'm saying curb to curb because the Romulus.
It's also their jurisdiction road.
But it's curb to curb. That's how the law is. A Romulus cop can make a U-turn if you're going on Van Buren side. He can still give you that ticket. Okay.
Like signs and signals and stuff.
Whatever. Let's just get it done. Audubon Society, whatever. Let's save some ducks. Morton Taylor Road is a multi-million-dollar road between Ecorse and Van Buren. And Leon, you mentioned it about the trash before, but I had a chance to go today and take pictures. That's one of the best concrete roads that we have in the township. And it put 2 housing development people that owned their companies to go broke, because the township forced them to put that in before they could build houses. And then the 3rd developer picked up and didn't have to do it. There is some potholes that are growing now because those same dump trucks that I'm talking about going into the landfill are coming down Morton Taylor, making the big swat go down to Hannon. They're making a big turn. They're tearing that road up big time. So the county needs to be filling those concrete chunks out before we lose that road. Because I noticed when Van Buren Township, and you weren't on the board, Supervisor, you actually worked for the county, and I brought this to your attention and didn't like what I got from Bryce Kelly and you. was that there was no sealing of the joints down the middle of brand new Tyler Road. And that's why Tyler Road failed. And Leon, you actually brought it up as a newbie when you were first elected, and it was brought up through Paul White's group and through Linda Combs, and it never got taken care of. That road is only 12 years old and it's falling apart. We need to get somebody to take care of our roads. I don't care what Wayne County's doing somewhere else, but these are our roads. And when you put new ones in, they need to be serviced, not 8 years later to put the expansion joint tar that they put in the middle of them. You actually had a good idea, but you said the county wouldn't let you, Supervisor, to buy our own trailer and do our own sealing. So something needs to give, because if they're going to make our roads fail, then they're all going to be screwed up all the time. Let's let our people do joint expansion refills. And it's the same way with, let's see, Morton Taylor, and then Hannon Road. Oh, and the dust that's on Hannon Road because of those trucks. They are sweeping it and put a little water on it, but one time a day is not cutting it because it's going in, because somebody from the trailer park talked to me about it. It's not Rudgate, it's another name now. Because that dirt from our landfill, the trucks is blowing, when it comes from the west to the east, is blowing into that Romulus area. That's our dust. So that needs to be taken care of. Okay, last thing for correspondence. With regret, effective immediately, I will be tendering my resignation as vice chairperson on the LDFA, Local Development Finance Authority, due to the fact that I feel it would be hypocritical for me to retain that position while being an advocate for the residents of Van Buren Township, especially if I'm involved in litigation versus the township. Respectfully submitted, John Delaney. Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else that wishes to speak in public comment? Are there any board members that wish to speak?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, support, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
Not mine. It might have been. Yeah. Applications for advice.
Is our deputy, Nicole, is our deputy chief salary in the budget?
It is
I think
100.
it's in there. It's in there.
Yeah.
And should I ask the police department for his background, or can you?
The background check?
No, not background check, just his history.
His who?
His
Resume?
Yeah, his resume.
I got you.
So that so we've directed that. So I think Joanne did it in the past, is we stopped posting, didn't post those stuff online. We only post the cover page. And that, I don't know if you have to FOIA it or not, but it becomes like kind of public after we approve, after we do the approval of his PSA, of his agreement, and then through the clerk's office.
Because they said things in a hurry, and I might make mistakes.
Yeah, but we had to do that for Chris. Remember you asked for Chris's?
Yeah.
We had to follow that, but me and Joanne worked it out.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We're happy to, to promote it. It just goes through the clerk's office, how we do sharing information with about personnel and stuff, but,
His resume. Just his resume.
and I don't,
That's what just don't put it in the packet. It's got all the personal information. No.
and I'm sure even a FOIA, even just talking to Jason for 2 minutes too, he can reiterate any of the stuff. It's easier. I know you got a
She want
deadline.
to see us, she can make sure it's accurate.
I've got a week.
Okay. No, I think you guys should turn that around.
Don't you send you? Yeah, anytime we